The battle for Willow Creek Lake. The radio in my office crackled to life with a 911 dispatcher's voice cutting through the quiet hum of the morning. We have a trespassing complaint at Willow Creek Lake. Caller reports a dangerous squatter refusing to leave private HOA property. I glanced at the address on the screen. It was my lake on my land. I'm the volunteer fire chief for Clarksville County, Montana, and that call was coming straight to the office where I sat, 10 feet from the dispatch console. The woman on the other end? The HOA president who'd been trying to steal my family's ranch for 6 months. She had no idea I was listening. My name is Tom Harlan. I'm 52, a third-generation cattle rancher in Clarksville County. The Harlan Ranch, 640 acres of rolling hills and pine, has been ours since 1948, when my grandfather bought it with railroad savings and a VA loan after World War II. At its heart lies Willow Creek Lake, a 12-acre spring-fed gem. My grandpa dug the irrigation ditches by hand. My dad stocked it with trout in the 70s. I learned to swim there at 4. It's not just water, it's our legacy. I run about 100 head of cattle, mend fences until my knuckles bleed, and serve as the county's unpaid fire chief. My wife, Ellen, is the town librarian. Our kids moved to Missoula for work, but they're back for Christmas and the 4th of July. My dad, Walt, a 91-year-old Korean War vet, lives in the guest cabin and fishes the lake every dawn, weather permitting. Mornings here smell of pine and diesel, with coffee brewed in a dented percolator that could wake the dead. It's a good life, a quiet one. Then the neighbors arrived. 5 years ago, an 80-acre parcel east of my fence was sold to a developer from Bozeman. They carved it into 12 luxury lots, Copper Hills Estates, $850,000 homes for retirees and remote workers fleeing cities like Portland and San Francisco. The HOA formed fast, with covenants thicker than a Bible. Their back decks overlook my lake, a quarter-mile away through the trees, but they have zero legal access. The lake is entirely on my deeded land. Always has been. At first, the newcomers were just confused. They'd wander to my fence, ask to fish. I'd show them the survey maps, explain the boundaries. Most nodded and left. A few grumbled. Then Sandra Mitchell bought the corner lot. Sandra, 58, a former HR exec from a Seattle tech firm, moved here for peace and nature. She's Pilates fit, with hair too bright for Montana winters, and drives a silver Tesla with a vanity plate, Lakeview. She's the type who weaponizes politeness, sprinkling, for the community, into every sentence while CCing half the county on emails about misplaced mailboxes. 6 months before her 911 call, Sandra became HOA president. 2 weeks into her reign, a certified letter hit my mailbox, stuffed with highlighted clauses and exhibits. It claimed a 19th-century county map showed a public easement across my land to the lake. She demanded a 5-foot trail, seasonal dock rights, and threatened lawsuits if I didn't comply within 30 days. I spent $3,200 on a surveyor and a title attorney. The easement was pure fiction. County records confirmed no such thing existed, not in 1889, not ever. I sent Sandra the findings, polite and documented. She didn't apologize. She pivoted. That's when our quiet life became a war. Sandra's next letter accused me of encroaching on HOA land, claiming my fence was wrong and I'd been stealing their property for years. I laughed, then stopped when I realized she meant it. She hired an out-of-state surveyor, the kind you call when you want a specific answer, not the truth. One Tuesday morning, I was in the barn, wrestling a rusted hinge with bolt cutters, when I heard loud voices. I stepped into the sunlight to find Sandra leading 4 people, 3 HOA board members, and a surveyor in a neon vest, 200 yards past my gate, tripods and cameras in tow. No permission, no call, just marching across my land like they owned it. "This is private property," I said, keeping my voice steady. "I didn't authorize this." Sandra flashed a smile that could curdle milk. "We're on the disputed boundary, Tom. Our surveyor has every right to verify the line." I pointed out they were trespassing. She started recording me on her phone. "Go ahead, call the sheriff. We're documenting your harassment." One board member, in loafers unfit for ranch terrain, nodded like a bobblehead. I didn't call the sheriff. I pulled out my phone, snapped clear photos of their faces, gear, and plates, then walked back to the barn. They left, confused by my calm. I called my attorney, Clara Benson, a ranch-raised lawyer who chews up bullies for breakfast. She confirmed that surveyors need consent or a court order to enter private land. Sandra had neither. In Montana, unauthorized surveying is a misdemeanor and grounds for an injunction. Clara sent a cease and desist letter that night, certified and emailed. I filed a complaint with the state surveyor licensing board. Within a week, Sandra's surveyor disavowed her, claiming she'd misled him about ownership. He threw her under the bus so fast she had skid marks. Sandra didn't quit. She posted in the HOA's private Facebook group, claiming I'd threatened violence, and the sheriff refused to help because I was a local. Ellen saw it, forwarded by a neighbor. The post had 53 comments calling me a bully, entitled, "Unfit to be fire chief." Ellen was humiliated. Parents at the library would see this. I told her to let Sandra dig her own hole. Privately, I was furious. That night, sitting on the dock with Walt, the lake smelling of cold stone, he muttered, "Some folks got more venom than sense." He was right, but I wasn't backing down. 2 weeks later, I found my gate to the back pasture chained shut with a padlock the size of my fist. No note, just defiance. I cut it with bolt cutters, checked my cattle, and left the chain on the ground. The next morning, a heavier lock appeared. I'd installed a wildlife camera after Sandra's first trespass. The footage showed her at 6:15 a.m., Tesla parked, muttering, "Let's see him get to his pasture now." I saved 3 copies of the video and took one to Sheriff Dan Carver, a retired Marine who's known me since high school. He watched it stone-faced. "Criminal mischief, maybe obstruction of access," he said. "Want her arrested?" I wanted a pattern documented first. Dan filed an incident report, promising extra patrols. Sandra called an emergency HOA meeting, proposing private security to monitor encroachment. 3 board members balked, citing $8,000 in wasted legal fees. She pushed through a $15,000 retainer for a Billings law firm. Their letter accused me of hostile activities and demanded mediation. Ellen and I laughed over dinner, but the stakes were rising. Sandra wasn't fighting to win legally. She wanted to drown me in legal fees. Then the county agencies came. The health department inspected for sewage runoff. Nothing. The environmental office checked for cattle-related algae blooms. Water was pristine. The zoning office investigated alleged fishing tours. Baseless. All 3 complaints, filed within 48 hours, came from copperhillshoa.org emails. I filed a FOIA request, confirming the pattern. Sandra was weaponizing bureaucracy to waste my time. On a September morning, in my fire chief office, the radio crackled. 911 call, trespasser at Willow Creek Lake, possibly armed. It was Sandra, claiming the lake was HOA property. Dispatcher Linda, a 15-year veteran, checked records and corrected her. The lake is owned by Tom Harlan. Sandra, flustered, insisted it was contested land. I sat 10 feet away, hands calm, jaw tight. Linda flagged the call as unfounded. Dan radioed he'd checked the lake. No trespasser, no Sandra. False reporting is a crime, wasting resources and endangering lives. That night, I couldn't sleep. Sandra's desperation, lawyers, complaints, lies, felt like more than ego. At midnight, I spread HOA documents across the dining table. Ellen found me at 2 a.m. "What's off?" she asked. I found it in the HOA covenants, a promise of exclusive recreational access to Willow Creek Lake. The developer's brochure featured my lake, captioned, "Your private oasis." They'd sold $850,000 homes with a lie, never securing access. County records showed a 2019 easement application, denied after my objection. Sandra was fighting to cover the developer's fraud, fearing homeowner lawsuits. The next morning, I met Dan at Magpie's Diner. Over coffee and cinnamon rolls, I showed him everything. Trespass videos, gate locking footage, the 911 call, harassment timeline, and HOA documents. "She stepped in it with that 911 call," Dan said. "Misdemeanor, but small potatoes. I wanted her discredited, not just fined." He grinned. "Present it all at once. Let her bury herself." Clara outlined a 3-pronged plan. First, sue the HOA for harassment, trespass, slander, and emotional distress, seeking $75,000 in legal fees. Montana law lets winners recover attorney costs. Second, File a bar complaint against the HOA's lawyer for frivolous claims. Third, pressure the developer to admit their fraud. Clara sent them a letter warning of million-dollar liability. They agreed to clarify the lake was never theirs. Then I found poisoned cattle. A dozen head were lethargic, one drooling. The vet, Dr. Ellis, confirmed antifreeze in the water trough. Someone dumped it deliberately, he said. I installed a camera near the culvert feeding the trough. 2 nights later, footage showed Sandra's Tesla at 2:17 a.m., her pouring a jug into the water, her face clear in the headlamp. Dan's search warrant found matching antifreeze, a funnel, and stained gloves in her garage. Poisoning livestock is a felony in Montana. Up to 10 years, $50,000 fine. I told Dan to wait until mediation to arrest her. Sandra pitched a TV station a story about a wealthy rancher bullying retirees. Reporter Jake, 26, called me. I gave him a folder: videos, 911 audio, vet report, search warrant. His eyes widened. This isn't her story. The segment aired, exposing Sandra's lies, trespassing, and poisoning. Comments flooded in, supporting me. 6 HOA board members resigned. Sandra emailed, begging to resign if I dropped charges. I didn't reply. At mediation, I presented everything: trespass videos, gate locking footage, 911 audio, false complaints, poisoning evidence. Sandra sobbed as I showed her motive: covering developer fraud via adverse possession. Sheriff Dan arrested her for felony poisoning and false reporting. The HOA board removed her, apologized publicly, and paid my $18,000 legal fees. Sandra pleaded guilty: 6 months probation for false reporting, 2 years for poisoning, $25,000 restitution, 200 hours community service. She lost her real estate license, sold her home at a $90,000 loss, and left Montana. I used the restitution for the Walt Harlan Scholarship, aiding students in agriculture or environmental studies. I donated 40 acres to a conservancy, ensuring it stays wild. Twice yearly, I host a community fishing day, $20 per person, proceeds to the fire department. It sells out, uniting neighbors. The newspaper ran a follow-up: from conflict to community. Ellen framed it: Walt still fishes daily. I fought with evidence, not anger, and built something better. If you faced injustice or petty tyrants, share your story below. Was I too harsh on Sandra, or did she deserve it? Should we forgive those who wrong us, or demand accountability? Drop your thoughts. I want to hear where you stand.